What's going on, Falcon fan? This is Boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So we're going to report two more signings that the Atlanta Falcons going to be bringing in to add to this 2025 free agency class. One is, you understand going and got trying to complete your depth across the board from the defense standpoint. And then the other, like, I'm not sure what the Atlanta Falcons trying to do, but um I guess I can see it from a special team standpoint. So we're definitely going to talk about both of the signings today that reported by the Atlanta Falcons. And then at the end, we're going to actually find out what these signings, all signings they have made this offseason actually mean for the draft for the Atlanta Falcons in 2025. Just a little bit over a month away. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. Please hit the notification bell so you're not dropping another video. Please hit the like buttons. I know you guys are here to talk about them. Please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in here and talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, let's get into the two signings today for our Atlanta Falcons. And it's been reported that the Atlanta Falcons have signed safety Jordan Fuller, who's been in the league since 2020. Actually played with our, head coach now, Raheem Morris, with the Los Angeles Rams. So you do have familiarity there. You can understand where the that connection is. Come in, play safety. I think when you pull back the onion on this pick, veteran guy coming in, been in the league 5 years, has played a lot of football. Only knock on him right now is that he's been injured 2 years, but what I do like about Jordan Fuller is the fact that, being big safety, 6'2", over 200 pounds, ran a 4.6 in the 40. This guy come down, he can hit. He really can hit in the run game. The 2 seasons that he actually was healthy, you can tell by that from a safety standpoint. He had 113 tackles 1 year. Like I said, he was healthy. Then another year he had 94 tackles. So this tells you that Jordan Fuller is a box safety. He stays in the box. He comes down. He make plays. He does, hit people. And you need that, especially when you're trying to stop the run. You need somebody with that physicality to come downhill. Especially to get into the nickel packages, you're going to need guys like Jordan Fuller to definitely step up and make plays. He does have 7 interceptions on his career, so which means to me that, like people say, it's like hit or miss in the secondary for him. I'm not saying he's like a outstanding coverage safety, but they already have that in Jesse Bates. So bringing in Fuller, in my opinion, is just, shoring up a more veteran guy who has familiarity with our head coach that knows how to make him play to his best version. So I like what we've seen this signing from the Atlanta Falcons. Now, what this also do, it helps the Atlanta Falcons with the depth. And like I said, a lot of these signings now that you're going to see in free agency is just building out your depth across the board for your team. So when you get to free agents and when you get to the draft, you're not reaching for needs, right? You're going out and you're filling your depth in spots. And they definitely need a safety. They only had 2 on the roster. They had some future contracts out there, but in reality, they only had DeMarco Hellams, come back for an injury, and they had Jesse Bates the third. So those are only 2 guys that they had on the team at safety, besides the future contracts that they had already signed. So bringing in Jordan Fuller kind of helps with that safety spot, adding more depth to that. So I like the signing. Once again, it seemed like this year the Falcons is not going to make that big signing that's going to get everybody excited. You guys recall last year we went out and got Justin Simmons, when I got Matthew Judon, and everybody thought those 2 moves was going to actually put the Atlanta Falcons over the top. And this time the Atlanta Falcons is just making moves around the team, adding depth to the team, making the team a better overall team, instead of just going to get 1-2 impact players. They're getting a lot of players that they think could be impactful. So that's the way you look at it when you think about what the Atlanta Falcons are doing. I like it from a depth standpoint, adding to your depth. You look at the signs they have made on the defensive front. Of course, losing Grady Jarrett, Eddie Goldman. was kind of big, but bringing back Taquan Graham, Contavious Street, bringing in, um, how you doing, Pamela? You know, bringing in the other tackle. You gotta like the moves they making. Like I said, these are not over the top signings like a Jesse Bates the third. Not like what they did last year when they went to trade for Matthew Judon or Justin Simmons. Names that a lot of people, start to gravitate to. These are names that guys that's been really solid football players in the NFL, you know, played their roles like a Kentavious Street. You like that. Like a Divine Diablo. Guys just played their roles. You like this signing with Jordan Phillips at Fuller as well. So these are the moves that Atlanta Falcons making. This brings the list to 18. I think I'm not mistaken. Either 17 or 18 moves that they have made this offseason. If you want to add in Leo McCullough re-signing and Jake Matthews extension as well. So you add those moves in along with all the free agency they brought in. Now we have lost people, you know, in free agency. We lost our starting center to Drew Dahlman and Mr. Falcon himself, Grady Jarrett. So those guys are out the door. We also lost Richie Grant. So we know Richie Grant was coming back because he signed with the San Francisco 49ers. It also was reported yesterday that we lost Nate Lamon as well, another guy who filled the void for it in that linebacker position when Troy Anderson couldn't stay healthy. It even brought to the attention to this year when it had a new coaching staff that Troy Anderson actually lose his starting position to Nate Lamon because Nate Lamon played so well in 2023. But lo and behold, Nate Lamon sustained injuries in training camp, and throughout the season he couldn't stay healthy as well. But adding a guy like Divine Diablo is going to help with the speed in the secondary. So you like that. And then just bringing in a guy like Jordan Fuller, like I just mentioned, a guy who's going to play in the box, is a physical safety, comes down. I mean, anybody, when you look at a safety and they have 94 tackles and 113 tackles, in seasons, is going to be really good for you. So that's what I like about this signing. It's not over the top signing. I guess this does mean that just a guy like Justin Simmons is not coming back to the team. It's going to be interesting to see where he lands. Hopefully, he does not land in NFC South. Just we don't want to see that. Go back to the AFC. Stay over there and get those guys fits. But good signing by the Atlanta Falcons, bringing in Jordan Phillips. Now let's get to the head scratcher. And what I mean by that is bringing back Felipe Franks, a guy that Atlanta Falcons had here at the quarterback position. They drafted him. He was an undrafted guy. Came in for Arthur Smith. He actually, converted himself to a tight end. Um, the guy is physical. I give you that much. For being a quarterback, he is a physical, plays a physical brand of football, being a tight end. But I think this guy has to be a special team signing. Simply as that. Now he played over 7% of special teams for the Carolina Panthers, so that's why I'm leaning that way, thinking this, a special team signing. If he's going to have a role in the offense, I'm not 100% sure with that. Like I said, I'm not. This is a head scratcher here. It's not like they have a lot of ties with him. I guess Terry Fontenot was fun to him when he was here. It is reported that his former head coach from Carolina said that he's a tone setter. So bringing in somebody that's motivated, like I said, he does play a physical brand of football, believe it or not, being a quarterback. So being on special teams, coming down, making plays, and I think that's going to be his primary role, being on special teams. And then if you have to fit in at tight end, I can see that. We still got Charlie Warner here. We still got Kyle Pitts here. So he's at the best third string for tight ends right now. But I think his role is going to be on special teams more than anything. So sometimes you just got to don't like, I don't really know what they're doing here. But you add another body into depth. This doesn't mean he's gonna make the team. Just adding to that 90-man roster, maybe he might get beat out in training camp. We just don't know. But Felipe Franks is a big guy, and converting to tight end it's not an easy thing for a guy who's played quarterback all his life. But he has improved. He has really improved over the years at that position. But I think his primary role is going to be special teams. I'm not going to put too much stock into it. A guy like Felipe Franks being a major contributor to the Atlanta Falcons, but he could be on special teams. Special team is a really important part of the game, and you have to have guys that's going to go out there and make plays. So um, that could be the reason they bring him back. We just don't know. I don't know what he did put on tape or whatever. We do know that we try to credit Terry Fontenot, his mind for bringing in pros because he's really good at it. Over the years, you look at the guys he had bring in, in free agency, being a pro scout, all those years back with the New Orleans Aints. You're just gonna take it with a grain of salt on this one. So welcome back to the Atlanta Falcons, Felipe Franks. I don't think either one guy actually signed yet. It's a report they're going to sign. Probably hear something more about the actual numbers and years and things like that for Jordan Fuller. But he's still a young guy. He's 27-year-old, and same thing can be said about Felipe Franks, bringing his physicality back. So there you have it, guys. The new signings for the Atlanta Falcons: Jordan Fuller and Felipe Franks will be added to this Atlanta Falcon 90-man roster. Um, Pamela said, "Happy Hump Day." That's right. Michael said, "Think this means Stark is out too." So let's talk about the draft. That's my next topic here. It's free agency, and how that ties in with the 2025 draft for the Atlanta Falcons. So, right, so just like Michael just mentioned, bringing in Jordan Fuller, to go along with Jesse Bates the third. Jordan Fuller is only 27-year-old, so he's not, you know, per se an older guy, like Justin Simmons was. He's been in the league a long time. He's only been in the league 5 years. Now, the interesting thing about Jordan Fuller, the only knock, like I said, is trying to stay healthy. So you need insurance. Now, DeMarco Hellams is coming back from injury as well. It'll be interesting to see if he's going to be ready to go when OTA start or even when training camp start. We'll see where he progressing with his injury. But I do not think that this completely take the Atlanta Falcons out of the Malachi Starks campaign. I do not believe that. The reason I say that because when we all think the Atlanta Falcons is going to zig, they zag. That's what they do. And once again, when you're starting to build your roster, and I think this is the most important thing about looking at team building, is when you go in free agency, you're building your roster for depth, right? That's what you're doing, and that's you have to do that because at the end of the day, you don't really know, who's going to be healthy and not. So you need to build depth, and if you building depth, right, and you looking on your board, and it's Malachi Starks, it's the highest rated person on the board when the Atlanta Falcons get ready to pick at number 15. I think they might take him. So I'm not 100% saying that he's out. I do not want to just sit here and be right on the record saying that they're going to be done with Malachi Starks because they brought in Jordan Fuller, right? Yes, Jordan Fuller is still a young talent. He needs to stay healthy, but it doesn't mean that just because they brought in a safety play free agency, and we just seen it last year. They signed Kirk Cousins to $180 million, then they drafted a quarterback, right? And and if you really believe that, and if you really believe that Malachi Stark is your best player on your board, why not pull him off the table? Right? We know what they think about him. We heard the defensive coordinator talk about probably the safest pick in the draft, right? When you're looking at that. And if he's higher rated than any other guys on their board, they might take him. And, you know, will we be surprised? Not really. I would not be surprised one bit if the Atlanta Falcons decide to pull Malachi Starks off the board. So, Michael, to answer your question, no, I don't think that does take Malachi Starks off the table for the Atlanta Falcons because they brought in Jordan Fuller, right? 330 says no splash moves in Georgia has mean that this draft will be one for the books, right? This is going to be an important draft, man. You said free agency, yeah. Once no splash move in free agency. What it do, Kondo, the Falcon family? New era is here. Let's fucking go. We will have the revamped defense this year, 100%. Remember, I mentioned and I said how many new starters do the Atlanta Falcons going to have on this roster, this defense, and it looks like they're going to have a lot of new starters. So I agree with you. This is going to be a new look defense, right? You got this, the guys that's there. You got K. Nellis, you got Terrell, AJ Terrell, and you got Jesse Bates third, right? Those guys are going to be there. And then you got guys that's going to probably be back. Evan Katie is going to be there, and David Amayada, right? You brought back Mike Hughes. So what's that? 6 or 7 guys. So that's you might have about 5 new starters on the roster, about 5 new starters, and so you're right. It's going to be a new vamp defense. It's going to be, hopefully, it be deep. I don't think they're done yet. I still think they still can make some moves in free agency. Still got about a month and a week left. So I still think they can make some more moves in free agency. He says the Falcons can still take Starks. He can play nickel. Yep. Yes, they can definitely still take Starks because of his ability. You're right. He has played nickel in college. Yeah, his ball skills is outstanding. So yes, it's not 100%, out of the way for them to pull Starks out. All right, so let's talk about the draft in general, right? So we have seen the national media start to post their mock drafts for the Atlanta Falcons, right? And we take those just like we take the Atlanta Falcons, what we think the Atlanta Falcons going to do, just like everybody else. Like it's just like me or you going out and doing a mock draft because to what we've seen the last 4 seasons from this regime, we have no clue what the Atlanta Falcons is going to do in the draft, especially with that first pick. So, we looked at what Danny Jeremiah from the NFL Network put out. He has the Atlanta Falcons taking Will Johnson, right? The cornerback out of Michigan. I really believe that would be a really good pick for Atlanta Falcons. We just talked about nickel position. You bring in Will Johnson. He will be a day one starter for the Atlanta Falcons, playing alongside Mike Hughes and AJ Terrell. Yes, I have to go back and look see if he's ability to play in the slot. But yes, I think being one of the top corners in the league, I think he could have that ability, especially when Atlanta Falcons want to play a lot of zone. Easier for him to translate playing zone instead of a lot of man. So I like that pick if the Atlanta Falcons decide to go in that direction and bring in a cornerback, right? Like a Will Johnson. Also Malachi Starks. I just talked about that, but that's somebody I picked the last draft because he was getting so much hype in the combine. I picked Malachi Starks off the board, and if he's the best player on their board, we don't know. I still would pick Malachi Stark. You look at what Mel Kiper Jr. put out from ESPN. He actually put out the Atlanta Falcons was going to go with Mike Green, right? Now we know the situation with Mike Green, the off the field issue, things like that, and we might see him drop in this draft because of those things. But the production he was able to put up his last year at Marshall was outstanding. What he was able to, to validate some of those things at the Senior Bowl as well. So you like what you've seen from Mike Green. Think he's got some polish, rush moves already, and I think would be a really positive, pick for the Atlanta Falcons. They decide to go pick him, based off what he's able to do on the football field. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure what would that mean for him, outfield issues and things like that. But these NFL teams do their due diligence on that. They look at these guys' character, And you hear Terry Fontenot always talk about the makeup of the player. So I'm pretty sure if the Atlanta Falcons do pull Mike Green off the board at 15, they did their homework and their due diligence, and they are satisfied for what kind of person that they think they're bringing into the Atlanta Falcon locker room and to the community as well. So um, that's who Mike Kuiper had the Atlanta Falcons picking. It's Mike Green, and that would be an outstanding pick, right? Finally, the Atlanta Falcons go out and get a pass rusher. Like everybody mocks to them every year, and this is the one time the Atlanta Falcons actually go do that. So Mike Green coming off the board at number 15, according to Mel Kiper Jr. in his latest mock draft. Right. Then we go to Joel Klatt. Um, he had the Atlanta Falcons taking the physical phenom in Shamar Stewart, right? Now, this is a pick for Atlanta Falcons that's strictly on the ceiling, right? It's not definitely on his floor because what he only had like 4 sacks in college at Texas A&M. So this is not something that we started production in college and we think is going to translate to the NFL. This is the potential thing. This is where a lot of scouts kind of mess up a lot. This is where a lot of scouts mess up a lot, right? We've seen this with Trayvon Walker a couple of years ago. He was picked number 1 overall from the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, it took him a couple of years, but his last 2 years, he don't had double-digit sacks, right? So it seemed like it started to turn for Trayvon Walker, but right off the bat, Agent Hutchinson went number 2. He probably should have went number 1 because he was a better player because of what he showed in college, right? So if a player just showed what they show in college and they can do that in NFL, you can see that what you're actually getting. But when you're getting a guy like Shamar Stewart, right, who's rated what in the 1 percentile of his RSA score, 99%, right? This guy here is a freak, right? He tested out of the yin yang, and that's what scouts are going to be looking at and saying that this guy, based off his how physical he is going to start to translate for him in the NFL, and the ceiling could be really high, right? So this would be a ceiling pick. This is a gamble pick for Atlanta Falcons, but I wouldn't be mad if they was to take him because sometimes you got to gamble. This guy has all the traits to be really great, right? You don't know what he was coached to do in college and things like that. And that's some of the things they said about Trayvon Walker, right? Because what he was asked to do in college. So you have to find those things out and say, okay, we're not going to ask you to do all that stuff. We're going to ask you to do this. And if you can excel at that one thing and become great at that, that's what they could probably, think about when they get a guy like Shamar Stewart. So this is another pick. So out of those 3 guys that did a mock draft this week for the Atlanta Falcons, we go with Will Johnson, Mike Green, or Shamar Stewart. I'll be a happy Atlanta Falcon fan on the first night of the draft. I just would be. I think all those picks are solid. If I want to pick one out the group that I would think the Atlanta Falcons should definitely pick out of the Mike Green, Will Johnson, and Shamar Stewart, I'm gonna go with Will Johnson because I think he probably the better player out of all 3 of those guys. And it's a need. It's actually it fits. We still need a nickel corner. I mean, I like Clark Phillips the third, but you go get a guy like Will Johnson. I would love that secondary, of Jesse Bates the third, AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes, Will Johnson, and then the physicality that Will would give for Jordan Fuller. I would love that secondary, right? And that could definitely help our pass rush. You got a good secondary like that that'll help the pass rush as well. So out of those 3 guys, Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, Will Johnson, I would go Will Johnson. Now, they go the other way, like I said, I would not be upset. So, hey guys, that's what I like about what those guys decided to do. Now, the interesting thing about number 15, right? It's some other guys that could still be on the board as well, right? You got the pass rusher out of Tennessee. He could still be on the board at the time. Michael Williams from another dog. So we talking about this draft could be really dog centric again in this first round. When you're looking at a guy like Javon Walker, right? I mean, Jawan Williams, my bad. No, it's Walker, right? I was right. Jawan Walker, Michael Williams, and Malachi Starks. I think all those guys are going in the first round, and I think all those guys potentially could go in the top 20 pick. I really do. So Michael Williams could be where the Atlanta Falcons decide to go at 15. You know, some of these guys like a Will Johnson, Shamar Stewart already off the board, right? They might want to go that route, you know, and they're not comfortable with a guy like Mike Green, you know, off field issues. So right, they might want to go with a Michael Williams or Javon Walker. They might want to go that route, right? If those guys are still on the board. Both of those guys will be good signing. You got a guy like Javon Walker. Where would he fit? You know, that'll be interesting to see. You know, he's a linebacker, but he's an excellent pass rusher. I think he was actually a better pass rusher than Michael Williams was. Right? We know Michael Williams. You know, mentioned that he you know his head was dealing with an ankle injury all year. So I don't like how he tested at his pro day. So I'm kind of a little bit down on him because you don't see the explosiveness that like you thought you was going to see, but um, he's a big guy, and it's going to translate because you see his point of attack. I think he'll be really really good in the run game, and then I think he could develop into a really good pass rusher as well. So I like Michael Williams. Like I said, Juwan Walker, it was just a stud. It took us all over the field. It just would see what it'd be interesting to see what they're able to do to him. You could have got like Marcus Parsons. He's not, you know, he not a traditional pass rusher as well, but that speed off the edge, right? His issue with Michael Parsons is not really good in the run, right? So he wanted to come out the peak, want to get out to the passer and be explosive that way. I'm not, you know, putting Javon Walker to that potential as a Michael Parsons, but he was relentless getting after the quarterback. So I could see something like that with Javon Walker. But those guys could definitely still be on the board as well. So you know, the end is when I think about this draft, this free agency standpoint, I really believe that the Atlanta Falcons definitely should get a good player in this draft. And it's going to be somebody this time that Atlanta Falcons fans can get on board with, right? Now, if the Atlanta Falcons go out and decide to pick another quarterback, I think we all go crazy at that, or a running back, or somebody on offense. I think if Atlanta Falcons picks offensive player at number 15, I think we are going to go crazy. So I think this time, I think we're safe, guys. I don't think they're going to go that route. I don't think that Atlanta Falcons will decide to go offense this time in number 15 when the whole focus this draft is definitely being about defense, even in free agency, right? Of course, they had to, you know, to bring us offensive players, particularly the offensive linemen, add to their depth. But you see, the Atlanta Falcons have not really mess with any of the skill positions and things like that. That is kind of interesting because they might do it in the draft, right? Could get somebody in the draft at one of those positions. The one thing that I think the Atlanta Falcons still need to be a little cautious about is the center position. So we lost Bradbury. He actually signed the contract, so you know he won't. He went to New England, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we lost out on Bradbury. So the Atlanta Falcons definitely need to find a center. I like Ryan Newsel, but they still need some insurance there. I'm just throwing that out about offense. You said, but can Hughes play nickel? Because Will ain't losing that count at balancing. Hey, that's a great point. That's a good point. Well, you know, Hughes did play nickel for us his first season with the Atlanta Falcons. I think he played better at outside, so he can play here. He can play nickel. He did play nickel for us a while, but I like him better outside. So that's a great point though. Will Johnson is the better outside corner. Yes, Will probably be the outside corner. Then you have to bump Hughes back inside, which he can play. He did play for us. Um, his first season here he came to the Atlanta Falcons. So it wouldn't be foreign to Hughes to actually play nickel corner. So did I answer your question? So, guys, like I said, when we talk about free agency and tied to the draft, I think this free agency period for the Atlanta Falcons is more about making sure that the depth around the team is going to be good enough. That's what we got. That's what they really need to be thinking about. Um, and hopefully they're not done. Right? We want them to continue to build depth around the team. So when it comes down to the draft, you can really play like you want to, right? Because you're not trying to worry about we really need to get this position. We really need to get this position. Now they really need to get the pass rush fixed, right? Because I don't think nobody's happy with the pass rush yet. So, so like they still is teetering around what we think about the pass rush. Yes, we still not happy with that. Yes, they did sign Leonard Floyd, but I don't think he's the total answer at pass rush. You're looking at a guy like Braden Trice coming back, how healthy he's going to be, when he's going to be able to contribute. Or maybe Katie, right? This is his contract year. He needs to have a big season. So those are some of the things you talk about pass rush, but right now it's no pass rush savior is going to be signed in free agency. I just don't see it. So maybe you know this is the first time the Atlanta Falcons go out and be happy with the pass rushers on the board at the time, and they stay there and pick one. That's how it's going to be. All right. The last thing we'll talk about today is Kirk Cousins. About the rumors that we're hearing about. Um, Atlanta Falcons has been on the phone trying to make a trade to get Cousins out the building. Um, we all know that they decided to bring him back for, to guarantee him that last $10 million of that $100 million guaranteed contract. But this is allowing the Falcons to, a little bit more leeway time to try to find a trade partner, right? It's been rumors out there about a potential third round pick. The Atlanta Falcons can get a third round pick for Kirk Cousins. That would be amazing. I'm just going to put it out there right now, right? That would be amazing. Now, it is some teams out there that definitely still could be, looking for Kirk Cousins. I know a lot of people believe that nobody wants Kirk Cousins. Nobody wants Kirk Cousins. But this is the thing about the NFL. If you don't got a quarterback, you don't have nothing. And that's just that simple. You have to have a quarterback in this league. And Kirk Cousins right now definitely fill a void for some teams, right? Maybe not long term. Look at a team like the Cleveland Browns. They go out and they get um, Kenny Pickett, right? And we all know Deshaun Watson's situations probably will not play in 2025. So you go get a guy like Kirk Cousins, with his understanding, because he understanding that it is a 1 year runner here for you, but you have the opportunity to start. That's what he said he wanted to do with a pretty good team, around him. He does have, familiarity with Kevin Stefanski, so this is not like he is foreign to him. Somebody he's already familiar with, um, but that's somewhere he could go. Another place is the Tennessee Titans, you know, coming in to take over for Will Levis, or even coming in if they draft a quarterback in the draft, that guy can sit and let Kirk watch, and don't have to play right away and let Kirk Cousins come in and be that bridge guy. So these are some of the teams, the New York Giants. Some people saying that, the head coach and the GM is on the hot seat. So maybe they want to come in and try to get some wins on the board, playing in that tough NFC East with now the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champions and what the Commanders has been able to do over last season with Jaden Daniels. So maybe the Giants want to pull the trigger and bring in Kirk Cousins as well. The Pittsburgh Steelers, another team, seem like they're in limbo, waiting on Aaron Rodgers, see what he decided to do. It seems like the Minnesota Vikings are out on Aaron Rodgers, so either he go to the Steelers or he probably won't play this year. I don't think he would go back to the New York area to the Giants. That team's not probably not going to be as competitive. But going to the Steelers um, would be a humbling to me. Would be a humbling experience for Aaron Rodgers because he's not the man in that building, right? We all know that. We all know who that is. That's going to be the head coach, Mike Tomlin. So, um, but so Kurt has options out there. Don't want to forget about Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson's probably going to take one of those spots as well. So you're looking at three veteran quarterbacks that could potentially be signed with one of those teams, those quarterback needy teams. You look at other teams like the Jets. I think they're going to be satisfied with what Justin Fields. You look at the Raiders. I think they're going to be satisfied with Geno Smith. Another team that could be looking for, I think, a rookie quarterback, and that's the New Orleans Saints, right? They got Derek Carr, and I think if one of those two quarterbacks, Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, foul, I think the Saints might pick one. Just saying, right? I think Jalen Miro made some money today himself. I think he ran like a 4.3 in the 40. So that athleticism is there. I still think he's a raw talent though. You look at the traits, and I look at it, Jalen Miro, like everybody was looking at Anthony Richardson when people thought Anthony Richardson was gonna, they looking at his ceiling, right? Because he did not show a lot in college, but they're looking at the traits, they're looking at the explosive arm, the running ability, and they think they can make a quarterback out of it. And that's, to me, that's a gamble. Like, you have to be able to do what you did in college at least, right? And when you look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, he didn't really do that in college. So they asked him to do something new, right? And that's why I don't understand, the whole archaic looking at when you're scouting and looking at guys' athletic traits and thinking that all of a sudden, especially from a quarterback standpoint, I can understand, like we talk about Shamar Stewart, his ability to be really good being a pass rusher, one day. But you look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, like if you was and I know people talk about, a guy, you know, quarterback from Buffalo. I get it. I get it. MVP. I understand. Right. He was touted as not being accurate or loose cannon and things like that. And he was able to, you know, look at Josh Allen now. He's MVP, right? So I understand looking at the traits and like we can translate, right? They looked at Mitch Trubisky, right? They did the same thing. Um, you got to get past what you think this guy's going to be and look at the tape. The tape tells you a lot. That's like for me when I look at a guy like Shadur Sanders and they say that he's not going to translate. And I'm like, from his tape, where do you see he can't translate? And he drift in the pocket. He understands that could be taught out. That could be, you know, coached out of you. It really can, right? Get rid of the ball. Stop drifting. Don't take so many sacks. But when you look at the accuracy, ball placement, knowing how to read defenses, that's what you can't teach. You got to have that stuff already, and that's why I don't understand sometimes when these scouts they look at just just like their athletic ability and think it's going to translate. It's just crazy to me. So um, that's why so many quarterbacks don't deliver because they was not able to do it in college. And you think, okay, yeah, he's not able to do it in college, but look at him, man. Look how far he throw the ball. Look at his athletic ability. We can do something with him. Yeah, right. So look at a guy like Josh Wilson, right? Just saying, man. You got to look at the tape. And that's what they claim they do. But then in the end, they talk about everything else besides what they seen on tape, which is amazing to me. So I'm getting on my soapbox on the quarterback thing. But yes, Kirk Cousins could be potentially still getting traded here. Um, with that being said, do I believe Kirk Cousins is going to be on the roster by start of training camp? Not 100% sure. I do believe that the Atlanta Falcons do not want to let Kirk Cousins go for free, right? So I think they are going to stay strong. They have to take it up to training camp. I think they will. You know, a lot of teams might be waiting after the draft to see how the draft fall out from a quarterback standpoint, and then decide to go the veteran route, right? It could be what Aaron Rodgers is waiting for to see how the draft breaks out and before he to make his decision, right? Um, we'll see if we hear anything from Russell Wilson here. I think he visited the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants, but we have not heard anything as of yet of what they decide to do with him. Um, but Kirk Cousins, man, you know, we all know now that he's not going to be the starter for Atlanta Falcons, and how he feel about that, we'll just have to see. But guys, that's all I have today. I definitely want to know what you think about our two new additions to the Atlanta Falcons: Jordan Fuller, safety, going aside Jason Bates the third, and then Felipe Franks coming in, former Atlanta Falcons, um, quarterback converted to a tight end. I think is really going to be dynamic on special teams. So there you have it. Definitely want to hear you think about that. Um, who would you definitely like to see the Atlanta Falcons pick at 15? Um, based off what the national scouts had out there, Will Johnson or Mike Green or Shamar Stewart. Out of those three guys, who would you like to see? I told you for me, it'd probably be a Will Johnson, if anything. We do have another comment here before we get out of here. These moves allow the Falcons to go any direction in the draft and keep the media from knowing the direction they're going exactly. And that's what I mean about building that depth. You're right, because they have really, I mean, going out to get Leonard Floyd, it does not solve the pass rush, but it doesn't make Atlanta Falcons look desperate in the draft trying to get a pass rusher. Right. Going out to get, you know, replacements for Grady, you know, doubling down on two defensive tackles, right? Rotation guys does not make the Atlanta Falcons look desperate in that spot. Bringing in Jordan Fuller, re-signing Mike Hughes does not make the Atlanta Falcons look desperate at that spot. Looking at Divine Diablo, right? Knowing that Troy Anderson coming back along with Kay Nellis and J.D. Bertrand, knowing that the linebackers, they do not look desperate at the linebacker spot. So it really, to your point, allows the Atlanta Falcons to really be really strategic, like they was last year. They had everybody lost, completely lost of what they were going to do, and then they shocked the world. I think it was talked about for probably like 2 weeks straight. Um, now, now, all those people that call Atlanta Falcons so dumb, I wonder what they're saying now. They're never going to admit it. They're never going to say what they think about Atlanta Falcons with Michael Penix on the team now, and you know the potential that he potentially have in the Atlanta Falcons to have a quarterback for the next 10 years, because that's what the whole plan in the first place. So, so thank you guys for tuning in today. I really enjoyed talking to all you guys once again. Definitely want to hear back from you. Please, like I said, share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come here and talk about these Atlanta Falcons. This is your boy Ricondo. Come back at you with another video. Peace.